Hi Yogi, and welcome to another slow flow class with me, Oceana. In today's episode, of course, we are heading into our final week of yoga twists. We've been exploring them for the entire past month, and this is sort of the culmination of all of that. We're heading into the advanced level sequence. It is, in my opinion, not a suitable sequence for complete beginners. If that's you, I will link all of the previous weeks here for you, and I would suggest that you find something there that's a little bit more suitable for your needs and accommodate you a little bit better than this particular class. In today's episode, I'm not really giving you any instruction on basic yoga postures. I'm really focusing my attention on the most advanced poses in this sequence, and as such, you shouldn't really need any yoga props unless you know you need them for yourself. And I would also like you to keep in mind, especially if you've been here the past 3 weeks very consistently, I'd like you to keep in mind all of the teaching points that we have previously covered. Apply them to today's practice so that you really get the most out of it. And that's it. We'll start in the center of our mat in a seated position. So when you're ready, meet me there, Yogi. So once you arrive in a seated posture in the center of your yoga mat, start with either the right shin in front of the left or the right heel in front of the left if you prefer. If you have a slightly rounded spine, then do roll up the back of your yoga mat and lift your sitting bones on top of that so that you can lengthen the spine and grow a little bit taller from the crown of your head lifting. We'll run through a few rounds of seated cat-cow here. So with the hands on top of your knees, as you exhale, roll onto the very back of your sitting bones. Let the spine round, let the chin drop in towards the chest. And as you inhale, roll all the way forward. Lift the chest upwards, pull the shoulders back, lift your eyes towards the ceiling, and we'll run through a few more rounds, seeing if you can match that movement with the length of your own breath. So lifting upwards as you inhale and rounding back as you exhale. Possibly over the course of the next few rounds, noticing any sensations that are present in your physical body today, right now. So the good as well as the bad, possibly seeing if there's any sense of lightness or tension in the spine. Possibly noticing anything that's going on in your shoulders or hip joint. The next time here that you come back from an arched spine, find the neutral position of your spine, which is somewhere between those two extremes. I'll turn around to face you here. As you inhale, sweep the arms out and overhead. Interlace your hands above the head. Spin your palms up towards the ceiling, let the shoulders drop, and from there lengthen your arms and waist upwards towards the sky. Spin from your belly button to face towards your left knee. As you exhale, release the hands either side of the thigh and bow down without lifting your sitting bones. Ground down through your right hand, lift the left fingertips up, open the chest into a twist as you inhale. Thread your left arm underneath the right. Either plant that left palm or the left forearm down as you inhale, right fingertips lift, twisting to the second side. Release the right hand to the floor, frame the left, so your right knee, and as you exhale, bowing down over the thigh. Again, planting left hand firmly into the floor as you inhale, the right fingertips lift. And as you exhale, the right hand threads through, possibly coming onto the palm or the forearm. As you inhale, left fingertips lift. Exhale, release both hands behind your sitting bones. Lean into your hands so that you can reach the legs forward, possibly keeping the hands as they are. The shins are parallel to the floor. Possibly hands underneath the knees, or if you can keep the spine lifted, release the hands either sides of the legs, maybe even straighten the legs for full boat pose, Navasana, staying for a few rounds of breath here, possibly smiling at your big toes, so that you are releasing any tension in the muscles in your face and neck. And then gently we'll swap sides, so we'll have this time either the left shin in front of the right, or possibly left heel in front. Hands again are on top of your knees, slightly different on this second side. So we'll see if we can rotate the rib cage around our hips here. So roll the ribs all the way forward, rock onto the fronts of your sitting bones, and as you exhale, rolling back round the spine. So see if you can move a few more times in this direction. And very gently here, we'll reverse that direction. So we'll go in the opposite, sort of either clockwise or anti-clockwise, whichever side you haven't moved in. And usually one of them will feel a little bit stiffer than the other. Eventually find stillness in the center. And again, I'll come to face you here so you can see a little bit easier. We'll sweep the arms out and around, interlacing the hands above the head, but this time moving one pinky finger over for that unusual interlace. The palms spin towards the ceiling. With the bent elbows, we release the shoulder blades down our back for a moment, and then lengthen up through the arms and the waist. Twisting from our belly button to face towards the right knee. Release the hands either side as you exhale, folding in. Press down into your left hand as you inhale, lift the right fingers. Expand the chest. As you exhale, thread the right fingertips through. Either plant the palm of your hand or forearm down. Inhale, lift the left arm up. Frame your left knee with both hands as you inhale. And exhale, fold down. Keep the sitting bones on the floor. Press into your right hand, lift the left fingers as you inhale. Exhale, thread the left arm through. Plant the hand or forearm to the ground as you inhale, right fingertips lift. Exhale, plant both hands behind you. Again, lean into your fingertips to release the legs in front of you, shins parallel to the floor. Either keeping the hands on the ground for support or finding any other version of boat pose that worked for you previously. So hands under the knees, floating the hands, straighten the legs. Find a few moments to breathe here. Possibly again, smile at your big toes. Don't curse out your yoga teacher for keeping you here possibly too long. And gently from there, either you can release the legs to one side and find your way into tabletop that way, or you could cross the shins. And if there's no knee problems, you can roll over the knees to find your way into tabletop that way. We'll have the shoulders on top of the wrists here, index fingers pointing forward, tucking under the toes, knees directly underneath the hips as you exhale. Slow motion as if you're moving through mud. Lift your sitting bones up and back into your downward facing dog. Feet hip distance when you arrive. Feel free to keep a generous bend on the knees in that first downward dog. Press into your index finger and thumb. Tuck your heels behind your toes and possibly have a little pedal through the feet, a shimmy of the hips, walking through your legs a few times, easing into the pose as you arrive. From here, gently bring the big toes to touch at the back of your mat. As you inhale, lift the left leg up and back into your three-legged dog. Point the big toe. As you exhale, draw the left knee forward into your chest, shoulders on top of the wrists for tiger's curl. Step or shimmy your left foot forward. Spin the right heel down. Press into your front big toe and the outer edge of the back foot as you inhale. Circle the arms out and around into your warrior 1.5. So if you're not familiar, it's slightly different to warrior 1. You want the chest to be facing towards the front right corner of your yoga mat. So not squaring the hips quite to the front. Let your pinky fingers spin in. Let your rib cage soften. Bend the front knee over the second and third toe. Bring the right hand to the back thigh. Lengthen through the left fingertips and straighten the left leg. And from here, we'll take this into Koundinyasana, our side lunge at the back of the mat. So use your left fingertips to paint a big, big circle, bending your right knee really deeply to lift the left toes towards the sky. Bring your right hand to the inside of the right knee, lift the left fingertips and expand the chest up towards the ceiling. Stay for a few rounds of breath so that you can really allow the left side of the waist to lengthen. Gently bring that left hand all the way to the floor, or possibly, if the balance is easy for you, you could bring the palms to touch in front of your chest in Anjali Mudra, prayer position. From here, we'll transition this to the front of our mat into the opposite leg, same posture. So either use your hands on the ground for support or don't. Slowly make your way over to the left leg, so bend the left knee, straighten the right leg. Point the right toes up. Draw the left heel towards the sitting bone. Find that length in the spine. Find your focal point and balance for a moment here. And from there, we'll face all the way to the front of our yoga mat, planting the hands to the floor. Right hand goes underneath the right shoulder so that you can turn all 10 toes to the left side and lift the left fingertips. You could, of course, step your left foot to the center of your yoga mat so that you have a little bit more openness in the hips to lift them a little bit higher and possibly have a peak upwards towards your top thumb. Now, yogi's choice to stay here for a few rounds of breath. Possibly, if you want to add a bit more of a challenge, shift your weight into the left leg, see if you can float the right foot off the ground. Now, if that's worked, possibly step the foot in front of the left and bring your hips to the ground so you're in a sort of twisted toe squat. If you want to add a little bit of an arm balance here, left hand comes to the floor. See if you can hook the left elbow across your right knee. And you can either hook the right elbow into your hip. If you are able to leave the hip unsupported, it's slightly more challenging, but the more sort of, let's say, exacting version of the pose. So from there, we'll find our way into side crow by slowly shifting our body weight forward into the hands, taking our eyes as far forward as we can until the toes become light and we can start to float the feet off the ground one at a time. And when you've had enough, slowly bring the feet back to the floor. Plant your right hand at the front of the mat and we'll retrace our steps. So we'll start by planting our left foot down, coming onto the outer edge of our right foot at the back of the mat. The left fingertips lift and possibly staying there or making the left knee light towards the ceiling into a side plank variation. As you exhale, bring the left hand down, step yourself back into a high plank, shoulders on top of the wrists. As you exhale, lower down through chaturanga. Inhale into the back bend of your choice. And exhale takes you back to downward facing dog. And we'll meet there. From here, bring the big toes to touch. As you inhale, lift the right big toe up and back into your three-legged dog. Exhale to draw the right knee into the nose, bring the shoulders forward for tiger's curl, and step or shimmy the right foot to the front of your yoga mat. Spin the left heel down, press into your feet. As you inhale, circle the arms out and around for warrior 1.5 on the second side. Again, soften the shoulders, knit the ribs together, spin the pinky fingers in. Actively pressing into the legs, bend the front knee for your final few rounds of breath here. Left hand comes to the back thigh, right fingertips reach up and overhead to the back of the mat as you straighten the front leg into your reverse warrior. And from here, again, using the right fingertips, trace a big round circle to the back of your yoga mat. Bend your left knee deeply and lift the left heel. Right toes point up towards the ceiling as you straighten the right leg. Bring your left hand inside the back knee, lift the right fingertips up and expand the chest into your Koundinyasana twist. On the second side, stay for a few rounds of breath to let the right side of the waist lengthen. And slowly from there, either bring the right hand in front of you, possibly you could bring the palms to touch in front of the chest. And with the hands for support or unsupported, again, we're transitioning that into the other leg. So bend your right knee as the left leg straightens, lift the left toes, lift the right heel. Koundinyasana at the front of the yoga mat. Slowly turn to face all the way forward. Hands come to the floor. Left hand goes underneath its own shoulder and all 10 toes point towards the right side of the mat. You might walk your right foot a little bit into the center of your yoga mat so that the right fingertips can lift and you have loads of space in your hip joint here. Optional as before to stay here in this variation, possibly shift your weight into the right leg and float the left foot off the ground. If that's worked out, maybe step the foot forward into a sort of twisted chair, or if you let the sitting bones descend, more of a twisted toe squat. If you wanted to add that arm balance here, then bring your right hand in front of the thighs. Hook the back of your right elbow into the outside of your left knee. Either hook the left elbow into the hips or possibly keep the elbow free if you can. Now take your eyes as far forward as you can, probably about 2 foot away from you. Slowly from there, start to press into your hands and shift your body weight forward towards where your eyes are looking. And possibly one leg at a time could lift into your side crow, Parshvabhakasana. When you've had enough, release the feet to the floor and retrace your steps. So bring the left hand to the front of the yoga mat. Step your left foot back, coming onto the outer edge of the foot. Right fingertips lift and possibly again staying here. Or if you wanted to, the right knee can lift up towards the ceiling into your side plank variation. Finding your way into your traditional plank. Slightly different here. Press into your downward facing dog. Feet a little bit wider than hips distance. Walk the hands all the way to the back of your yoga mat. And we'll make our way into Malasana Yogi squat. So turn the toes out, heels in. Let your sitting bones descend, deep bend on the knees. Possibly stay here. You could bring the palms again to touch in front of the chest, lightly pressing the elbows into the knees and pressing the knees back. If you want to give yourself a little bit of a wrist stretch, then plant your hands with the palms facing up underneath your feet. And again, you could stay here. If you wanted to add a little bit more pressure to this, then straighten your legs, lift your hips towards the ceiling and start to shift your body weight forwards into the balls of your feet. Let the head hang for a moment, let the spine round in towards your thighs. Slowly from there, rebend your knees so that you can release the hands in front of you and walk your way all the way forward into a high plank. Shoulders on top of the wrists as you exhale, lower down either via the knees or one straight line through Chaturanga Dandasana into the back bend of your choice as you inhale. And exhale takes us back to our downward facing dog, where eventually, when you're ready, we will meet. Bring the big toes to touch at the back of your mat as you inhale. Lift the left leg up and back into your three-legged dog. Exhale, draw the left knee forward into the chest. Shoulders on top of the wrists for tiger's curl. Step or shimmy your left foot to the front. Separate your heels hip width. From there, press into your feet, keep the back toes tucked under as you inhale and circle the arms up into your high lunge. Again, soften the shoulders, let the pinky fingers draw towards each other. And gently as you exhale, take your left hand towards the back thigh. If you can reach, right fingertips reach all the way back. Finding a few moments to breathe here in this deep twisted side bend. Bring the outside of your top hand to the outside of the front knee. Reach the left fingertips all the way to the back of the yoga mat. And from there, either stay in this slightly higher version of the twist or possibly slide your bottom hand a little bit further down the leg so that you might be able to get past the elbow. And then bend both arms so that the palms touch in front of your chest. From there, top hand presses into the bottom hand so that you can lift the lower rib cage forward and roll the top ribs back. Finding your last few rounds of breath here, pressing into your front big toe and the back heel so that you can steady yourself here through the legs. Let your eyes drift towards your front big toe. Step the back foot forward. Make sure that your knees are in one line here. Finding our way into twisted chair pose, let the hips descend. And possibly allow your arms to fan outwards again. Either staying there or finding your way into a twisted toe squat, so your heels lift towards the sitting bones and the knees deeply bend. Possibly having another go at side crow here, so you could bring both hands over to the left edge of your mat, hooking the right elbow in, possibly keeping the left elbow unsupported. And if you find your side crow, you could take that into Koundinyasana I by scissoring the legs out. So slowly again, take your eyes forward first. Let the feet become light. Maybe the left leg kicks forward towards the front of the yoga mat. Possibly the right leg kicks back. Finding a few moments to breathe here, to find your focus. And gently from there, when you're ready, bring the feet back in. Walk your hands to the front of the mat. Lift your hips up towards the ceiling for a moment. Let the spine round. Lengthen the crown of the head towards the horizon line. Roll the shoulders back as you inhale. And exhale, fold back into your legs for Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Plant the hands at the front of your yoga mat. From there, soften the knees. On your exhale, either walk, step or jump your way to Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale takes you into the back bend of your choice. And the exhale takes you back, either via the knees or one straight line to your downward facing dog. Bring the big toes to touch at the back of the mat as you inhale. Lift your right leg up and back, point the toes for three-legged dog. As you exhale, bring the right knee forward in towards the chest. Shoulders on top of the wrists. Step or shimmy the foot to the front of the mat. Again here, give yourself a little bit of space between your heels to accommodate your hips. As you inhale, press into the feet. Come up into your high lunge. Lift the fingertips, soften the shoulders. Right hand towards the back thigh as you exhale, left fingertips drawing back into that reverse high lunge. Slight side bend into the twist. On an exhale, bring the back of your top hand to the outside of your front knee. Right fingertips reach back, possibly staying here or sliding your way into a deeper twist. Possibly if you get past that left elbow, then bring the palms to touch in front of your chest in Anjali Mudra, prayer position. Press the top hand into the bottom hand to spin the chest open. Steadying yourself through the feet, press down. through that front big toe and the back heel. Slowly take your eyes down to your front big toe. Step the back foot forward, making our way into twisted chair pose. So quick check that your knees are vaguely in one line. Let the sitting bones descend into that invisible chair behind you, and possibly from there allow your fingertips to expand away from each other. Open the chest. Let the top hand come down, possibly lift your heels towards the sitting bones and bend the knees. Again, we make our way into our side crow, or possibly Koundinyasana I if you want to take a little bit further. So see if you can again hook the left elbow across the outside of the right knee. Right elbow could stay unsupported or tucks in towards your hips. Both hands over to the right edge of the mat. Your eyes travel several feet in front of you, and slowly, as you shift your way into the hands, your body follows the eyes forward. From there, maybe the feet or toes become light, and you find your way into side crow. And again, if you are extending the legs into Koundinyasana, the bottom foot reaches forward, and the top leg extends back. Finding just a few rounds of breath here. When you've had enough, bring the feet back to the floor, walk the hands forward. Slightly different here, separate your feet about shoulder distance, turn the toes out, heels in. Lift your hips just high enough so that you can bring your wrists directly at the back of the knee joint, and then release the hips back down. So you should end up with your wrists, your hands in a sort of fist shape, and from there open and close your fingertips so that you're giving your wrists a little bit of a relief after all of that arm balancing, all of that pressure on the wrist joint. And slowly from there, lift the hips to release the hands at the front of the mat. Lengthen the spine halfway as you inhale, let the shoulders roll back. And exhale to fold into your legs for Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Now, yogi's choice from here, you could, of course, just step back into your downward facing dog, possibly coming through your final vinyasa if you wish. As you exhale, either walk, step, or jump back. Find your way into chaturanga. On the inhale, finding the back bend of your choice. Let the exhale take you back into downward facing dog. On your next inhale, bring the big toes to touch, lift the right leg up and back for three-legged dog. As you exhale, draw the right knee in towards the chest and come onto the inner edge of your back foot, lift the left arm up. So you come into a sort of side plank version. Come onto the outer edge of your back foot and shimmy it as far past the left edge of your mat as you can. Slip the foot forward, lift your hips. Expand the chest into your fallen triangle. Find a few moments to breathe here into that slight back bend, and gently from there allow the hips to come all the way to the floor. Preparing for a wide-legged forward fold, so separate the heels if you prefer a little bit more distance. You can of course fold all the way straight forward if you prefer, otherwise we'll take this into another side bend twist. So from here, left hand can come to the floor, possibly all the way onto your forearm. Right fingertips reaching for the opposite foot, catching the outer edge if you can. And from there, leaning into your right shoulder to lift your eyes towards the ceiling. Softening with each exhale, a little bit deeper into the pose if you can. Using your next inhale and the right arm to bring yourself all the way back up through center. And we'll sort of have to reverse engineer this as we make our way back out. So we'll plant the right hand at the front of the yoga mat. We'll turn all 10 toes forward and pressing into the outer edge of our front foot and the inner edge of the back foot. Press down and lift the hips, lift your left fingertips up. Pressing into your front hand and the back foot, see if you can draw that right knee back into the chest and plant it underneath its own hip. Bring your left fingertips to the ground, left knee to the floor into a tabletop position, and from there exhale your way all the way into your downward facing dog, either stepping back or rolling over your toes. Big toes touch at the back of the mat here as you inhale, left leg lifts up and back, three-legged dog for the second side. As you exhale, draw the knee into the chest, find your tiger's curl, and then come onto the inner edge of your right foot. Again, right hand lifts into our side plank variation, and we step the outer edge of the left foot as far away as we can so that we can expand the hips and the chest into our fallen triangle again here on the second side. Just a few rounds of breath in that back bend. Gently bringing the hips all the way to the floor when we're ready. From there, this time the right hand or elbow comes to the floor. We lean our left shoulder back and possibly with the left hand we catch the outside of the right foot. So heels, of course, as wide as is comfortable. The toes are flexing back towards the shin bone as always. And there's a sense that the center of the chest is spinning open to deepen that twist. And we might even be peeking up towards the ceiling for our final few rounds of breath. On the inhale, using the left arm to bring ourselves all the way back up through center. Left hand goes to the front of the yoga mat, and from there again, all 10 toes turn to point towards the front, and then we press into our feet to lift the hips and lift the right hand. Possibly from there, the left knee draws back into the chest, and we bring the knee all the way underneath its own hip. Top hand spins down, top knee comes down, and on the exhale, we find our way back into our downward facing dog. From there, on your next exhale, soften the knees, walk, step or jump the feet forward towards your hands. Lengthen the spine halfway as you inhale. And deeply bend the knees so that you can slowly make your way all the way onto your back body as you exhale, rolling down. When you arrive, draw the knees into the chest. Have a little sway side to massage the back of the body. And when you're ready, taking any restorative reclined twist that you prefer. So, of course, the arms can be out straight, one straight line from the hands to the shoulder. If you don't quite have the space like I do, then do bend the elbows for cactus arms. Possibly just allowing your knees to roll over to the left side. Of course, if you have a preference, maybe you want to wrap your top leg around the bottom knee to deepen the twist, then do feel free to take any variation you like here. Let the right shoulder be heavy. Let the breath soften and come back to its natural state. Slowly on your inhale, unravel the knees, draw them back into center. Squeeze the knees towards the floor for a moment. Exhale. Take your same arm position as before. Allow the knees to roll over to the right side. Again, yogi's choice, any position that you prefer here for your reclined twist. Maybe if you did it on the first side, you're again wrapping your top leg around the bottom knee. And simply, as soon as you can, allowing your body to settle down. And gently, again on the inhale, unravel the legs, draw the knees into the chest and briefly hug them in as you exhale, squeezing them towards the floor. And from here, we just briefly find a Shavasana. So walk the legs forward to the front of your yoga mat. Bring the heels as far apart as you feel comfortable with, possibly all the way to the edges of the yoga mat. Create a little bit of distance from your torso to the arms. Let the back of the head be heavy. Let your upper and lower jaw separate just slightly. Let the tongue soften away from the roof of the mouth. And for a moment, feel back into the physical body. So notice any differences from the beginning of our practice to now. Whether they are positive or negative differences doesn't matter. We're simply observing and again taking stock of what's going on in the body now that we have completed the practice. And possibly once you've done that, just for a few moments, resting your attention on the breath. So following the inhale in through the nostrils, down the throat, into the belly, the ribs, the chest. Watching the lungs expand and the front of the body lift. And as you exhale, tracing that air back out through the lungs, the throat, the nostrils, until there's nothing left to give. And possibly with each exhale, noticing that pull of gravity, weighing you a little bit further, closer into your yoga mat. Almost a sense that the body is melting away gradually. Seeing if you can keep your mind anchored to the breath for your final few rounds here. And slowly here, just wiggling the toes and fingers. Reach your arms all the way up and overhead to the floor behind you. Bring your feet together and point your toes forward. For a moment, take a deep inhale and lengthen the entire body. Make yourself as long as you possibly can. And as you exhale, draw the knees one at a time into the chest. Round the forehead towards the knees. Release the shoulders and head back down. And from here, yogi's choice, of course, you could roll over to the right side with the right arm behind you, the left hand supporting you. And you could stay there for a few rounds of breath. If you prefer to rock through the spine, then bring the hands behind the knees. Use your lower legs to build a bit of momentum. And again, when you're ready, then slowly finding your way into any comfortable seat. Bringing the palms to touch in front of your chest. Bow the forehead towards the fingertips. And in this final moment of practice, as always, give yourself just a moment of gratitude for showing up for yourself, predominantly. Maybe for some other reasons too. And finally, if you wish to plant your sankalpa, that good intention that guides the energy you cultivate in your yoga practice towards someone or something in your real life off the yoga mat. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Namaste, Yogi. And of course, thank you so much for joining me in today's practice. I hope you have enjoyed the last 4 weeks as we have explored the twisted postures of yoga. I, of course, would love to hear how your practice went today. If you got this far, do leave me a comment down below. Let me know how it went. And of course, if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you want to find me anywhere else online, then all of that information is in the video description. And I always enjoy hearing from all of you. So thank you so much for your support and continuing to practice with me if you're here frequently. I hope to see you very soon, Yogi. Bye.